Hello and welcome to Homicide Hobbies. I'm Andy,
And I'm Claire.
and we're here to talk about some of the disturbing things that go on in the world, past and present. We feel like not knowing doesn't mean the crazy doesn't exist.
So we're going to scar you with the knowing.
Enjoy. What do you got for us today?
Today, your first clue is going to be the state bird is the cardinal, and the state animal. I knew that was going to eliminate a lot of options for you. But the state animal is the white-tailed deer, because I guess we don't count birds as animals, so...
I guess. That's it?
Well,
Is that all three?
No, that was your first guess.
Okay.
First off, how do you count? That wasn't even 3 guesses.
Well, I thought you were going to say the cardinal was one, the deer is one, and...
No, I'm not gonna lie. I put those together as one because I laughed at the cardinal, because realistically, we both know that's not a hint.
It's what, 11 states? 7 states? I think it's 7 states that have a cardinal.
But I don't remember.
I don't know. Virginia. No, I know it's not Virginia because it's not. We don't have the deer as our state bird, I get, or animal.
You don't have a deer as your state bird, you'd be right.
So I know it's one of them other 6. So Ohio.
No, it was home to the world's largest man at 8 feet 11 inches. Its official snack is popcorn.
Kentucky.
No, its largest city is known as the Windy City, even though it isn't the windiest.
Oh, I was gonna say Illinois, but
it doesn't even make the top 10. If you were curious, the top one in the United States is Amarillo, Texas, clocking in average daily speeds of 12 to 13 miles per hour.
That's a good place to fly a kite.
That made me curious, what is the highest wind speed in the United States? So I got distracted, and the highest wind speed in the United States is 231 miles per hour and was clocked in Mount Washington, New Hampshire.
Wow.
And I don't know how anything was capable of capturing that, because I feel like whatever barometer would like fly right off. And also, if you were curious, because I was like, was that during a hurricane? It had to have been during a hurricane. It wasn't. It was clocked in April something, 1932, at elevation 6,288 feet when the wind gusts obviously happened. And it was during a winter storm, which I also did the whole, ugh.
No.
Can you imagine 200 mile per hour winds in the winter?
That's gotta feel like negative 300 degrees.
For sure. I didn't look that one up because I was already running down a wind rabbit hole. Because then that made me curious. Okay, so if they specifically said that's number 1 in the United States, what is the windiest place in the world? And that, my friend, would be in Australia in 1996. They broke the record of New Hampshire by clocking 254 mile per hour gusts, which is crazy. And not far from them is the world's windiest city, Wellington, New Zealand, and its daily winds average at 17 miles per hour.
17?
17, 17, daily.
We went from 250 to 17.
So apparently there's the windiest city, and that's their daily average. And then you've got the people who brag about having random gusts. So, but enough about the wind before this case blows.
Too late.
You ain't gonna guess? What did you guess? I know Virginia, because that was wrong.
And then I said Tennessee. That was
no,
not it.
I was so excited to tell you about my wind facts.
The Windy City thing, I was gonna say Illinois because I thought that was Chicago, but you said that's...
You'd be right.
Oh.
Chicago is the Windy City. It just happens to not actually be the windiest city.
Well, that hint nearly threw me.
So maybe instead of windy with an I, they need to change it to windy with an E.
You're an idiot. I didn't know that their popcorn's their state food. All the cases we've done.
Yeah, I don't know why popcorn. That's their snack, official snack.
Oh.
I don't know if all the states, I didn't run down that rabbit hole because I got wildly distracted with the wind, if you can't tell. But it blew me in that direction.
Their state snack should be chili. Get it? Because they're the windy state.
Yeah. So we're going to head to Illinois.
We haven't done a case in Illinois in a while. Might want to turn that off. Put it in your jail wallet.
I'm not gonna. Then we wouldn't be able to do the case because it's not in Braille and I can't read Braille with my rectum.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably somebody's talent.
I don't know how I'm going to edit this, but it'll be fun.
I don't know. I don't know if you jot that on your resume. Anyway, we're headed to Illinois for the 15th time, particularly Jefferson County, in November 1987.
We're really digging the 80s lately.
It's an interesting time period. Things were wild.
We moved on from the 70s.
All the people who grew up in the twisted 60s. Okay, so population wise, we're talking about a town that if you blink on the highway, you just missed it. It's that small.
That's either a really small town or a really long blink, and it sounds super dangerous driving down the highway.
Especially on the highway. You mean you don't blink when you drive down here?
Not slow blink to long enough to drive through a whole city or town.
Jason might. That's why he hit that buzzard.
I got nothing.
Sorry. Okay, anyway. So our main guy we're talking about is 29-year-old Keith Dardeen and his wife, 30-year-old Ruby Elaine Dardeen. They've got a little boy named Peter who's going on 3. Elaine is pregnant with their second child, a baby girl, due any day. Keith works as a treatment plant operator at the Rend Lake Water Conservancy. He's reliable, shows up for a shift every time, kind of feller.
Oh, God.
Now, they live in a modest mobile home just off the highway, not some fancy subdivision, but they're doing that young family grind thing of working, parenting, going to church, playing in a little country band, that sort of thing. They had bought their mobile home in 1986, renting the land from a farming couple once Keith had finished his training to begin the job at the plant that he's at, and Elaine had found a job at an office supply store. Now, in their free time when they weren't working, that they would go to the church, and Keith would be the singer, Elaine would play the piano, and they were just did their thing. Now, when Elaine became pregnant with their second child, I think part of it is going to be they're about an hour and a half from family. So even though he's got a good job, I think the idea of a second child and being away from family and support is like you miss things. Even an hour away, I know that's not that far, but they want to do the whole move back.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's how I felt when I lived in Florida.
Well, Florida's far, but I guess if you live in a small town and you're used to that closeness, and I think even though they started developing a routine where they're at, it's not the same. And I think since they both came from not that far away, it's not that big of a deal of if, they're not moving that far. But with the addition of a second child, I can see where that would motivate. But beyond that, like when she becomes pregnant, they're going to start telling the family that they want to move back because of that second child, but also because they felt the area, and this is almost a direct quote, was getting too violent.
Oh, no.
And according to Keith's mother, Joanne, Keith was prepared to move even if he wasn't able to get a job first. So they slapped a for sale sign up within the year of like late 1987. And Jefferson County had seen an uptick in violent crimes, about 15 homicides in the prior 2 years, which
Jeez.
It isn't really that big, but when you're talking about a small town,
It's a lot.
It's a lot. If there's not that many people, 15 is a high number. Now, one of those homicides, it was a teenager who wiped out his entire family, like mom, dad, 3 siblings. So it's just like, I feel like that was an isolated incident of crazy, but I can see where it'd be scary if you're also away from family and he's doing the protective dad thing.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be a surprise that these sweet, cautious people raising a little family are like, okay, too many murders, time to go. Although, I did think it was interesting that part of the motivation was some kid that murdered his whole family, because that was family who killed family, and they're opting to move closer to family.
Well, because they feel comfortable around theirs.
Well, that brings us to November 18th, 1987. Keith doesn't show up for work that evening.
Oh, you were a baby.
And he didn't call out, so his supervisor's just like, that's real unlike Keith, so he calls the house. Now, again, this isn't a flaky dude, so his boss gets worried pretty quickly when not only does he not hear from him to call out, but when he calls, he doesn't answer his calls, so he's just like, okay, I'll try him later, maybe something's happened, because he's also aware he's got a pregnant wife, so maybe there was a thing. So He's concerned, but also just calls several times throughout the day. All of them go unanswered. And when Keith and Elaine fail to show up to play in their little music group at the church, it's really out of character. And now you've got work people and church people going, something's not right. So the supervisor calls both of Keith's parents. Now, they've been divorced for a while, but they still live in the same town and they're about an hour-ish away from them. But he calls them both. Neither one have heard from Keith or know what could have happened that would have made him not show up for work. It's not like they heard if Elaine went into labor, none of that. So Keith's dad, Don, called the sheriff for a welfare check, and he tells the sheriff, I've got keys to the house, so I'll meet you there, because he's worried about his boy. Well, the whole family. But when they get there, Keith's car's not there. It would have been usually parked outside, obviously. So it's just like it would look like nobody's home. But they knock anyway. Nothing.
Does he have a criminal record?
No. They go inside, and that's when everything gets genuinely nightmarish.
Everybody's dead.
Inside, they find Elaine and little Peter in the bed. Both of them had been beaten to death so violently at first, officers thought they might have been shot. That's how bad the trauma looked.
Oh.
Elaine had been bound and gagged with duct tape. Somewhere in all of this violent assault, she'd gone into labor and delivered her baby girl.
Oh.
The newborn is also beaten to death, apparently with the same baseball bat used on Elaine and Peter.
Oh.
And that bat isn't some random weapon, it's Peter's little baseball bat, a gift from Keith.
That's horrible.
So the killer didn't bring a weapon, they used something from the home. Something that belonged to the little boy.
You're trying too hard to make it look like it was the husband, so I'm not saying it was the husband.
All three, Peter, Elaine, and the newborn, are tucked into the same bed afterward, not just laid where they fell. They were arranged almost like someone tried to make them look peaceful after doing something absolutely monstrous.
You're not baiting me.
But where's Keith?
Uh-huh. He's dead in the basement.
It's a mobile home, so there is no basement. So, for whatever reason, your brain hole don't want to call it what it is. Police are going to go, yeah, so this looks an awful lot like Dad snapped and killed the whole family and took off.
Oh, that's so sad.
Because remember, it's the late 80s, and statistically, everybody loves the dad did it theory. So they're going to send officers to Keith's mother's house thinking that boy headed home. He decided the life of a new family is too much stress, and he's going to get out of here, start afresh.
And go suckle on his mommy's teat. Piece of shit.
But when they get there, Keith isn't there. His mom's like, no, I haven't talked to him. But you know how that goes with people that are going to protect their boy.
I wouldn't.
But then the next day, a group of hunters find a body not far from the trailer, about a mile. It's Keith, and he's dead too.
How'd he die, though?
He'd been beaten and shot 3 times. In addition to that...
You son of a bitch. I said I wasn't going to get baited.
And you did. It took a little while. I had to really drag it out of you.
You suck.
Well, in addition to the beating and the 3 gunshots, he had genital mutilation so bad his penis was nearly severed.
Ah.
So now the dad snapped theory really goes out the window super fast.
Because it was severed, not snapped?
Now, whoever did this didn't just wipe out the family, they specifically mutilated Keith in a way that screams rage, humiliation, and some intense fixation.
Was he having an affair? A husband found out?
Then they find Keith's car 11 miles from the trailer, parked outside of the police station.
What?
It's covered in blood splatter, all of Keith's, which I thought was really crazy that some sick fuck murdered an entire family and then parked the car in front of the police station.
That's really ballsy.
It sure fucking is. Somebody is twisted as fuck and like just rubbing their nose in it.
The police's nose, yeah.
Yeah. And when their violent murders make the news, the townspeople start going about their daily activities armed with shotguns.
Sorry.
I sure do love a Wild West turn.
Because everything relates to a movie in our lives, usually cartoons if we can. But, you know, in Beauty and the Beast, when Gaston is getting the townspeople all riled up,
yeah.
everybody grabs their weapons and goes marching around.
The pitchforks.
Yeah.
Hey, the bloody beating I think that's crazy.
Oh, for sure. That's awful. And I definitely agree to be on guard, but marching around with your pitchforks and your shotguns,
Okay, so you did the pitchforks. They were just walking around armed with their weapons.
you don't know.
After school, kids would be picked up by their parents instead of the whole, I don't know what word I wrote there, but like the high school kids, instead of like lingering around after school or doing social activities, their parents would pick them up. Not only would they pick them up directly from the school, but they would go in the school to get their children and bring them out because they're taking no chances at this one.
Yeah, the killer dropped the bloody car at the police station.
Yeah. And the news was not particularly accurate with their reporting. Surprise, surprise. Some would say that they were all shot. Some would say that Keith died of a head injury while being dragged from his car, which was like, how the fuck do you do that?
What do you mean?
How would you die from a head injury while being dragged from your car?
Well,
How heavy is your head? Like he's not like Jason's big truck. It's not that big of a fall.
I don't know. You could if you're fighting and somebody grabbed you and you're kicking and trying to thrash about and you grab hold of the person's legs.
It's not the movies, Andrea. You don't ding your head and then you're done.
Okay, well, I'm picturing when we used to horseplay and somebody grabs you by the ankles and pulls you off the couch and you thunk your head from the couch onto the floor. That shit hurts. So if
I
it's
didn't say it didn't hurt,
concrete or
but
if
you
it's
didn't
concrete,
die.
it was also carpet. But what I was going with is with all that thrashing about and the car is going to be a higher fall than a couch and it's asphalt.
Nah,
I could see getting a like a brain bleed that goes untreated and you die.
I'm gonna have to agree to disagree on this one.
Sure.
But they'd also report that Elaine had the baby ripped from her womb, and Keith's genital mutilation was taken into account was perhaps the work of satanists performing ritualistic sacrifices, or maybe they got a serial killer on the loose.
You said that really weird.
I know. It's like
All right.
okay. Satanists. Satanists? Why does it not sound right either way?
Satan
Them
sounds...
devil worshippers at work performing ritualistic sacrifices. Or maybe, just maybe, they got a serial killer on the loose. Because, they got them other murders and some of them aren't solved. So, you know how everybody likes to throw everything onto one person, did it?
Of course. Well, I'm going to say one person did do the family.
Well, this one, yeah, perhaps. But you know how they like to do the whole, no, all of these are tied together. Because that would be a nice pretty bow of all the things.
Except for the fact that the real killers are on the loose, committing more murders.
And I think it makes it more comforting to people that they're only looking for one person rather than several deranged people who may or may not be truck drivers. Sorry. You can't help the statistics. Now, one feller would actually tell the local doctor and coroner that he lived a half a mile from the family, and he couldn't sleep since hearing about it. He'd lost 14 pounds just due to the stress and pacing. But he wasn't the only one who couldn't sleep at night, knowing some awful person was out there. Local police would band together with the state police to investigate. Collectively, 30 detectives were on the case and would interview about 100 people because, again, it's a small town, so all of which don't point to any helpful directions. They would talk to coworkers and people who weren't the bestest pals with Keith, but just like everyone else, even those people, they were cleared, but they didn't have bad things to say. Like, it's people who may or like they didn't get along with, but were like, yeah, he's not a bad guy. I just prefer not,
Mm-hmm.
But it's the other side of the things in the trailer that there's no sign of a robbery as the main motive. So it's just like, who do you point to? There's also no obvious affair or big secret ever confirmed publicly. They do find a tiny bit of marijuana, but not enough to suggest that they're into some heavy shit or drug dealing or anything of that sort. Then during the autopsy, they don't find any drugs or alcohol with Elaine or Keith. So then they're starting to wonder, maybe those drugs weren't left by, they weren't Keith or Elaine's, since it was it didn't seem like it's not like they found drug stuff all throughout the house. They found a little bit of marijuana at the scene. So they were just like, maybe this is something the killer accidentally left. It was also weird because they were able to estimate that Keith and Elaine died about the same time, within the hour. So that was another weird one. And again, community terrified. Remember, they were also freaking out on prior murders within the county, and now it's like their worst nightmare amplified.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Now days go into weeks, then years, and for years, the case goes cold.
Ah, is that the theme of the cases lately?
Yeah, I think it's the weather.
I, I think it's our search history. We need to clear it out.
Well, Keith's mom works hard to make sure the public doesn't forget, calling regularly to whichever detective was working the cold case. She even gathered over 3,000 signatures from the area to petition the Oprah Winfrey Show to task her to do a segment to just get more attention to it.
Did she?
No.
Piece of shit.
She was turned down because it was seen as too brutal for daytime TV.
Oh, so let's just pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah. Your story is too sad for us to actually tell people.
You don't have to get into the details.
America's Most Wanted had a similar response.
What?
Initially.
He's a sumbitch.
But by 1998, they did decide to run a segment on the unsolved murders, but no new leads were generated. But I also feel like when you wait that long to do something, like,
Yeah.
fuck, man. Like, let's wait 30 years before we give this case the attention it needed. That makes sense. Why not?
Unless they run it over and over and over and put it in your face, the person that they needed to be in front of would have had to have been watching at that moment. Otherwise, it falls on deaf ears, unfortunately.
Yep. Now, in 1999, police do start to consider serial killer Angel Renendez or Rafael Ramirez.
I didn't know it.
Who surrendered to police in Texas. Now, that feller liked to travel the country by hopping trains and beating his victims to death.
Did they live near a train station?
Well, that's how he liked to travel.
But did the family?
I don't know. But I figured if you're hitchhiking.
Oh, that for sure means he didn't do it. Because if you were like, they lived 2 miles from the train station, then yeah, that's feasible.
Well, if you settle down, I'd tell you. But they weren't ever able to link him to being in the state of Illinois. But I also feel like it's real hard. If somebody's hopping trains and hitchhiking and doing all that stuff, how do you track where the hell they were?
Well, nowadays they got that facial recognition. But in the 80s, good luck.
Ain't talking about... This is 99.
Yeah, but the murders I thought were in the 80s. They wouldn't be able to track him back to Illinois in the 80s.
You might be onto something there.
Like, Detective Claire, ladies and gentlemen.
He was picked up in Illinois in 99. He must have done that murder. It's why I'm not a detective. Otherwise, y'all would be arrested.
What?
Because you listen to it now. Andrea did it.
Lies. She'd be one of them cops that coerced.
Why are we having trouble with our wording this morning? This is why we don't record in the morning anymore.
For me, I just heard a loud crash followed by a loud thud.
I did hear that.
Yeah. So I was staring up at the ceiling like...
I don't want our podcast to become popular based on listening to your murder.
I didn't do it. I'm down here recording, so whatever's taking place upstairs.
I said your murder.
Oh.
Not you murdering. Although now your caricature thing seems spot on.
Oh, you know what?
But anyway, so they couldn't connect that feller to Illinois. So then, by the time we hit the 2000s, and I really do hate picking on Texas, but there's another feller, because you know how that one, he surrendered to police in Texas?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the very next year, there's a feller in jail in Texas, and this feller's in the clink because he cut the throats of 2 13-year-old girls in 99.
Oh, God.
One survived and was able to identify him and help track his ass down and lead to his arrest, which is why he's in the clink awaiting trial when he starts confessing to all kinds of things. And one of them happens to be the Dardeen family.
Oh my.
But mind you, when detectives ask him about certain details of the crime, he says he don't have a good memory on account of being sexually abused as a child, and forgetting was his coping strategy.
Okay.
But that's his superpower, was forgetting.
Convenient. Does he do drugs and alcohol? It sounds like it, since if he did it, that he left some of his paraphernalia behind.
Probably. But he said he sure did remember the Dardeen family. He said that in the mid-80s that he was living in St. Louis. about 90 some miles from the Dardeens. He traveled by hitchhiking with truckers, and wherever they headed, he would go, like a fart in the wind. And he made his money by being a carny at the fairs or as a day laborer. Now, his story, depending on which version he was telling, is that he met Keith. Supposedly, Keith offers him sex or drugs or some kind of proposition,
Wait, the
and
husband?
and Tommy says he snapped in a fit of rage. He said he forced Keith at gunpoint to drive out to that field, kills him, then goes back to the trailer, rapes Elaine, and kills Elaine, Peter, and the baby with the bat. Now, again, his story changes tons of times. Tommy even describes making Keith bind and gag his own family with duct tape before taking him out to the field. Law enforcement and even Keith's mother are not entirely sold on that Tommy's the person who did it, because you know how weirdly there are people who just like to confess to shit.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy has a long history of false confessions. He liked attaching himself to high profile unsolved cases. He would run his mouth a ton and claim he killed over 70 people. And he did talk about dozens, but they weren't able to corroborate his version. Either the evidence disproved him entirely on some of those confessions or on murders that he couldn't possibly have done because he was either in jail or clearly across the country, that he wasn't even thinking about his own timelines. So it was like he didn't do it. Now, he was charged with the murder of the 9-year-old girl. Like
9? I thought he killed 2 teenagers.
No, he sliced the throat of a 13-year-old girl. I did tell you 2 13-year-old girls. Well, he sliced the throat of 2 girls. One was 13. The 9-year-old girl died. He is charged on the murder of the 9-year-old girl. He pleads guilty to that, but he's indicted on another murder in 1995 out of Missouri. But since he can't be brought to trial because Texas don't believe in field trips for prisoners, so they don't let him out of the state. Once you're arrested in Texas, they don't give a shit what you did everywhere else. Texas is keeping you, especially if you're already on death row. They're not letting you out of their sights. And I appreciate that. Way to go, Texas. So they're like, I don't care what he did in Missouri. He's going to die in Texas for what he did in Texas. So he never is officially charged because he can't ever be tried without leaving Texas.
Well, that kind of sucks on Texas's part at that point.
Well, I can understand because the second they let him out of state, it's too big of a risk of if he gets loose. So I can understand the risk of traveling. And right now, he's not going anywhere. He's going to die, so...
Yeah.
But that's the other problem, is they're not going to let him travel to Illinois either, because detectives there kind of wanted to see how familiar he was with the area to kind of close out the Dardeen family murders. Tommy's just cooling his heel on death row, and then in 2010, Tommy starts making his confessions again about how he had dinner with Keith at his home, and he was prepared to just enjoy the meal and leave, but Keith made him mad with his sexual propositioning him to want to do a threesome with Elaine, and I don't believe...
I thought she was 9 months pregnant.
She is, and I was like, I don't believe him at all. He's just bored in prison and needs attention.
Not saying that women that are 9 months pregnant don't want to have sex.
Aren't Randy?
But
Not
I'm
with a dirty stranger?
Yeah, because you feel like a whale.
Well, I don't even believe that Keith invited him over for dinner, even if he met him and they were chit-chatting. Because mind you, he'd already told his family he wanted to leave because the area was feeling unsafe. So I don't see him
inviting him
running into somebody who's a nomad. And I picture this guy as dirty and smelly. And even if he's down on his luck, I could see him maybe buy a sandwich for him, pitch him a couple bucks. Even then is a stretch for me because he's already going to be trying to save everything he can so he can move because he's prepared to move without employment. And there was also one time that there was some lady who was stranded. I guess her car broke down and she wandered up to the trailer and knocked on the door. Keith wouldn't let her use their phone.
Wow.
So if he's not going to let some lady that, like, that's how weary he was of strangers, I don't at all buy the story of he invited you over for dinner. He doesn't know you.
No.
But like I said, I don't see him doing that to bring him back to the house to have a threesome with his wife and do some weed. Now, then Tommy's story would change to Tommy would claim that he forced Keith by gunpoint to bind Elaine and Peter with duct tape, then drive out to that area where Keith's body is later found. and mutilated him and killed him. Then he went back, raped Elaine, beat Peter, and then killed the baby because they were witnesses.
It's disgusting because a infant and a 2-year-old, right? Peter was
Mm-hmm.
2.
He
They
was
have,
like 2 going on 3, but still, like, they're not. Well, he killed them because they were witnesses, and he
but
was
they
just.
can't testify. A baby freshly squirted out and getting nothing out of that but some screams. And the little boy, he's not going to be able to say diddly. A
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
does he
And,
even know his colors yet? Would he be able to say he had brown hair,
well,
blonde hair?
he said he was just so mad that he took it to the max limit because
Oh,
rage don't have a stop button.
did you hit your mic?
No. But he was just so mad that he took it to the max limit because rage don't have a stop button.
All right.
Now, I kind of believe him at that point because I was confused
What?
how. Hold up, I'm telling you. I was confused initially when they were saying that Keith and Elaine and Peter and everybody, they all died within the same hour. And I was like, one person did all of that? Like, you would think if you're busy beating and murdering somebody over here, that the other person over there could either, like, escape, run, do something. But it kind of makes sense that if he had Keith bind his own family and then he takes Keith out, kills Keith, then comes back, that makes sense. That I was like, oh, yeah.
I guess.
Because, like, if he forced Keith out of the house by gunpoint, Elaine could call the police or run or do whatever. But it makes sense. If she's binded up first, then
Bound. Yeah.
whatever. Binded, boned. She's in a pickle.
She wasn't boned. She was boned 9 months prior, but.
But that version makes sense to me of how that happened if it was one person.
Yeah, I guess.
It also makes sense if he was high and paranoid of he lost his shit, because I do know that there are people out there that whatever weed is like made him weirdly paranoid.
Well, here's the thought: don't go killing and kidnapping people.
Yeah. Now, in another version, he would say that instead of meeting Keith and Keith inviting him over to the house for dinner, he said he saw the for sale sign on the trailer, knocked on the door, and pretended he was interested in buying it, then overpowered Keith, making him bind up Elaine and Peter before forcing him to drive to the field and killing him.
That sounds more.
Yeah. I was like, now we're getting to something because that makes sense. And I was thinking that, like, maybe if he is some sick, twisted fuck that went around killing people, that maybe it's not 70, but maybe he does smush together details because it's so long ago that he's like kind of muddling his details.
And what else has he done in that time in
Right.
between?
So I was like, maybe there was somebody who invited him to dinner and then he assaulted them.
Mm.
And then maybe this one, that one makes sense of he's pretending he's interested in buying the trailer. I could see Keith crack the door open a little bit more for that one because he's ready to get out of there. And how scary is that the motivation to put the sign out there to get away from the violence is what let the violence in.
Yeah. It's
fucked up.
Awful.
But Keith's mom would try to set up a time to talk with Tommy, but he refused to talk to her. She really just wanted to be sure that it was him without a shadow of a doubt, because it's one of those, I mean, you don't want to think that there's closure to it, of obviously it's never going to go to trial, but she wanted the peace of mind of
you did it and
right,
they're not out gallivanting around. If you tell me that 20 years later the real killer's found, I'm not talking to you anymore.
Now, he refuses to talk to her. He said that he had nothing to say to her, that if she wants to come here and talk to me, scream at me, yell, kick, hit me, she should have that right. But that there would be no apologizing that he could give to change what he did. Sorry ain't gonna cut it. So what is there to say? I could tell her sorry every day for the rest of my life. It's not gonna stop her pain. And one thing I do know about is pain, and it don't go away. They never would talk.
That's confusing because if he says she has the right to come yell, scream, and kick, well, then let her do it. Why would you refuse to see her?
Well, because he didn't see a point to it.
But if it's her right, like, how are you going to say it's my right to do this and then be like, but you can't?
Because he's an idiot. But in April 2014, Tommy would be executed and never charged with the murders, but remained the number one suspect and obviously won. Keith's mom didn't believe he did it. she wanted to talk to him to be sure, but so much that he said didn't match up that she still doesn't think that he did it and doesn't want the case completely off the books because they weren't really able to confirm he did do it. Now, some investigators think that he did, and I don't know if the motivation would be just to get that one over and done with because it's a cold case getting only colder.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of feel like he did because it made sense, the whole pretending to buy the trailer and then bust in, have Keith tie up everybody and that whole thing. One of the things that was odd was they didn't say Elaine was raped in her autopsy. Now, not to get morbid, but I don't know if that was partially because she also delivered a baby. So I don't know if somebody's raped and then delivers a baby and then is beaten. I don't know.
I'd be curious how long the baby was alive for. Like, did the stress of being bound up and
I feel
her
like
husband being taken
probably.
put her into labor, and
And
then
then
when the guy came back,
the baby was
the baby
born.
was already born? Because delivery is not a fast process,
So
and the fact
let's
that the baby was fully born and then beaten to death
So
is
right. So you're on the same path that I was. Like the length of time is what I was curious of. When he busted in there, did he slap him around and it took a very long time for Keith to even bind up his family and just that put her into labor?
it doesn't make sense if everybody died within the same hour. She had to have already been in some sort of beginning stages of labor because
Maybe she was.
even going to the hospital and being induced,
Takes a while.
it takes hours. I went in with one of mine, and I was in the hospital for 13 hours with medication inducing the labor.
Hey, I'm just telling you. I don't know what the time frame was for all of this.
Or was she already beaten to death? The baby came out, and then he beat the baby. Because I would assume that with no, I don't know how that works.
Right, that it would. I So that's where I don't know what all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no earthly idea. Um, but I would think like it makes more sense that Keith was taken and she was left there, and then he comes back.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's just like I don't know if stress, how fast that would like the body would work because it's still not like an eject button. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT.
That's what I was doing. It says, yes, a mother's body can expel a fetus on its own after death. But this is a purely biological process that occurs long after the baby has also died. So I'd be curious to know, did that baby ever take an actual breath? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Or was the mom beaten to death while he's off killing the little boy? The baby came out.
Okay. So it says when birth can happen very fast, as in minutes to under an hour, is when severe internal injury caused by violence can cause placental rupture when it fully detaches and ruptures the membranes, forcing the water to break. If the assault triggered contractions. But weirdly, it can also stall.
Oh. So I just looked up specifically with this case, and it says that the infant was immediately targeted with fatal force. That's horrifying. What you doing now?
Hold on. ChatGPT was being a dick.
I told you that's why I don't use that.
Because it said the wording. The killer beat the pregnant mother and the violence killed the baby inside her. Does not mean the child was born, then attacked separately, but I've got that the baby was also beaten to death.
Well, I asked. It said forensic evidence indicated that the infant was a live birth, meaning she had exited the womb and was living independently when the killer turned the weapon on her. So,
Yeah, that's why I ditched my ChatGPT because that one would make it seem like mom died and the baby was born. But even then, she should have just been alive.
the baby weighed just under 4 pounds at the time of her birth. So, I don't know about that 9 months pregnant. It sounds like she was nearly 9 months pregnant because they gained like half a pound a week in the last couple weeks.
Mm,
But I hope it was him and that the killer didn't just get off scot free.
same, because it's just like, oh, yeah, okay, fine. 8 months pregnant. Fine. She wasn't due any day. She was practically due any day. She wished she was due any day.
Still not down for a threesome at 8 months pregnant.
Yeah, right. She was far enough along that you knew she was pregnant and also far enough along that I don't think that she was down for some smoking of the weed. But it's just real sad, and I too hope that that feller was who did it. I think it also sucks for the other murder in Missouri that there was no closure to that one.
Yeah.
And who knows what other ones. But I also think it's real scary the people who just travel around. And I'm not saying it just stopped in the 80s or the 90s. I think there are probably people still out there who just mill about, being either day workers or just nomads, and that's real scary because you can't track them and they're just here one minute, gone the next.
Yeah.
But
especially them traveling carnies.
Fuck off. That's all I got.
Well, thanks for that.
So, damn it. If you want to stay up here.
She said she heard Paul. He crinkled a wrapper. She's pretty sure he's getting the snacks.
She's like, hey, my snack feller, he's my love.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Homicide Hobbies. If we made you laugh, if we made you cry, or if we mind-fucked you for the day, then we thank you for listening. Please write a review on whatever you're listening to us on. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers. We're freaking awesome. And join us next week for another episode of Homicide Hobbies. I'm Andy.
And I'm Claire.
That's all we've got.